like to ask you a question first. What do you think Zone 2 training is about for you? Not for everyone, not for me, just for you. Are you doing Zone 2 training? And if so, what do you use to measure? We had 20 weeks of pure base training, honestly, before I started that 20-week training block, specifically for Berlin. I'm not unhappy. I could have done something better, especially when it comes to mileage. So this week specifically is dedicated to mileage, because I think I neglected mileage. My training plan is an 80-20 ratio, 80% low intensity, 20% high intensity. But I think when I watched my data, that it's not 80-20, not at all. I don't know what I did wrong. Basically, I just followed the prescribed workouts. But I don't know, cannot help myself. Maybe it's the weather that I'm doing too much at high intensity or in higher intensity. And I have to change it. And I think the best way how to do it is, instead of having more intensity, it's having more mileage at lower intensity. Quite simple. Or with other words, base training. Lovely, nice and windy. That helps. To keep heart rate low. That's a big keyword, right? When it comes to Zone 2 training, your heart rate. I'm not going to talk about this too much. I think you know what's going on when I talk about heart rate Zone 2. And that's why I think Zone 2 training is basically self-explaining. We're chilling here, guys. The 1K mark, I do a U-turn, and then let's talk about the mileage. This week, again, is dedicated to mileage, but my point of view. And why now? Week 14. Crazy. But you will understand. I will blend in a screenshot. I'm going to talk about two things. First, what is the screenshot about? It's telling you what kind of training you're doing. We have anaerobic training at very, very, very high intensity. We have high aerobic training that is as well high intensity, at least for us marathon runners. And we have low intensity. That means low aerobic training. And usually, well, as you can see, Garmin is saying there is a part where your specific training intensity should be, right? That kind of range there. But as you can see, it's not. My high aerobic training is overreaching the goal, and my low aerobic training is way behind. So something is not correct. Something is not good. And I kept on ignoring it. I neglect basically the low aerobic training. And now I can think of, is that maybe the reason why we have days when I think I can actually do a good job, but I have problems to get the goal done for what is prescribed every day for the session that we have to run? I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Let's say from New Year until May, we did pretty much nothing else than just base training. I thought it's the only way how I can make sure that higher intensity stuff, well, has a foundation, a base to rely on. Honestly, I feel fitter than I was last year. I hope, fingers crossed guys, we're doing the right things here. However, that's why it's the main reason that we have to increase the low aerobic training part here. As you can see, it's well imbalanced, and it's not good. The Garmin is telling you that. I think it's not lying, it's not just invent those numbers. They're coming because of my training, and those numbers hasn't been there before I started with the training block. So something is definitely wrong. Probably not so much though, but the numbers telling enough, telling you a story. And I still figure out what the story is. Now you know what this screenshot is about, why I talked about this. And now you understand why this week is especially dedicated to heart rate zone 2 training, whatever you call it. Base training, foundation run. I think we have 80k scheduled this week, but I think more than 90% is in heart rate zone 1 and 2. So no worries when it comes to intensities, no worries when it comes to injury possibilities, because we're doing it very, very slow. But I think at the end of the week, I will blend in that screenshot again, and I tell you if we are doing the right things, or if the things we are doing going into the right direction. Right. So mileage again. We have to stop neglecting the low aerobic training part of this marathon training block for Berlin. We have to. Alright, guys, that's been said. We have already 2.5k done so far. Currently at a pace of 7 minutes and 30 seconds per k. Chilling here with low heart rate in heart rate zone 1, around 130 beats per minute. I think that's the right way here to answer that imbalance, or to answer that mileage problem. All right, guys, let's go. If you watched last episodes where I talked about the weather that I have to run in, those conditions here during the summer season, I mean, that's for sure, guys, believe me, possibility at least is quite high that this is also the reason why the numbers are a bit off. I'm not joking when I say my heart rate now should be 130, right? At a pace of like 7 minutes and 30 seconds per k. But it's not. It's 140. And that is already heart rate zone 2 for me. So today's recovery session could have been better. But if you see the pace and you do this when it's 20 degrees out there, I think I would not even reach heart rate zone 1. But that's the big difference here. Or not really a big difference, because I don't know which part of the world you're doing your training, but the challenge, yes, Simply as that. It's a challenge. 7 minutes, 30 seconds. I've been sweating my off and just dripping. Going slow as. Don't get me wrong, but probably have to understand my environment even more than I thought I can already understand my conditions here. This summer feels like it's super humid. I don't know. So we always have a problem with hydration, sweat in general. I don't know. But definitely a reason why the data is, or could be better, or more accurate, let's say. So, same you would actually have if you go, or if you do your running training, but let's say in Alaska, right? Or south end of Argentina, maybe you will have the same problems that, yeah, let's say you have to put more weight into those sessions to get your heart rate up there. And because let's say you train in Alaska and then you have a marathon in Miami, I think that's a problem, right? Yes. So there's no chance for you in Alaska, maybe it is, but just short, to train for high heat or high humidity. Whereas here, I'm just surrounded every day, 9 months a year, by heat, humidity. Obviously, because that's an island. However, now you understand. Never mind. Just trying to get myself talking about something that is very important. So I have to brainstorm more about this, increase my knowledge. I mean, YouTube is full about. There's another thing that I should mention here. Because I'm having the camera with me every time I go out and press the record button, once I start talking, my heart rate is 5 up to 10 beats higher than it would be without talking. The longer I talk, the higher my numbers will be at the end. I mean, I can talk constantly, right? So it's conversational pace. We have this as an indicator, but the heart rate is giving me a wrong impression here. I mean, the pace, 7 minutes, 30 seconds, should be possible to stay in heart rate zone 1. However, it's what it is, right? Not a big drama if today's recovery session would be like 50-50 or say 25 to 75% in heart rate zone 1 and 2. That's all right, as long as we can avoid heart rate zone 3, 4 and 5, so the high aerobic or anaerobic zones, then I take it. I would sign it immediately. This week again, one more time, dedicated to mileage at low intensity. We have a fast finish on Wednesday. 5 minutes at the end of the run, we go a bit faster, and we have a steady state pace on Friday. So probably heart rate zone 3, but just for an hour. Let's say I have to find a compromise, right? I cannot just go 100% in heart rate zone 2 in or for week 14. It's too late. We have to be race specific here in a way. But yeah, 90% low intensity, 10% high intensity, I take it. All right, guys, see you at the end with the final result here of today's run. Let's go. We just did the U-turn at the 5K mark. Something came up. Yeah, what maybe could be the reason that my data is a bit wrong. I mean, not wrong, but it could be better. And I think a good way would be, or would have been, talk less or not start your run too fast. Once your heart rate is already in heart rate zone 3, it's so tough, especially when you run in heat and humidity, high heat, and even more humidity, to go back to heart rate zone 2. Obviously, that's been always the challenge so far doing that training block. Once I've been to heart rate zone 3, it was impossible, or let's say very, very tough to come back to heart rate zone 2. I think once your body reached that temperature or is sweating like crazy, there's the problem. It has no chance to calm down, to cool down, to bring back the heart rate to that range that is prescribed for this run. Alright, let's go over the data. 55 minutes, 55 seconds, 6k and a bit. An average pace of 7 minutes and 35 seconds. We burned 400 calories about, and the heart rate average was 135. What is quite high if you think about the average pace. But again, last video we talked about the weather here that I have during the summer season. We cannot change the weather, but we can adjust the training accordingly. And I'm trying my best, even though I think the weather is the main reason why my data is a bit scrambled, let's say. Alright, that's all I have for today. Tomorrow, foundation run. Alright, guys, wherever you are, and enjoy your zone 2 training. Run safe and enjoy your runs. Have a good one. See ya. Bye bye.